The following interview is not to be construed as medical advice. Always consult a licensed medical provider.
Even if you are just completely out of shape and overweight and are just, not sleeping well and just everything, your whole entire life is out of control, we can just focus on one thing at a time and take it piece by piece.
Hello, everyone. I'm Zahra Sethna, host of the Collapse Life podcast. Welcome to another episode. Before we get to our guest today, please remember to hit that like and subscribe button. So many of the systems that we grew up trusting, like healthcare, are currently breaking down or being co-opted. One of the things we often talk about here on Collapse Life is how to regain control over your body, your mind, and your wallet. And here's the thing, when systems begin to break down, the strongest people won't be the ones who have the most gear. They'll be the ones who can think clearly, move easily, and keep themselves out of the hospital. So, joining me today to talk about all of this and more is my friend and former colleague, Kristina Morros. Kristina stepped out of the medical field after decades working in a hospital, and now she's on a mission to help people reclaim their physical, mental, and financial health before it's too late. So, welcome, Kristina. So good to have you here.
Thanks, Zara. I'm so happy to be here.
Very exciting news. Congratulations. You have a new book coming out June 1st.
Yes, correct. I'm very excited about it. The book is called Get Healthy or Get Dead. It is a book with an accompanied workbook. I actually have my little author or preprint approval copies here. They will not have the big gray strips across them, but anyway, that's what they look like.
Well, I've read the book and I think it's great. And I would love to get into it and talk a little bit about it. So first of all, let's start with the title, which is pretty provocative title for a kind of health-focused book, Get Healthy or Get Dead. So tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write it and who it's aimed at.
So the title is basically sort of in your face for a reason, because I think a lot of people think getting healthy is just taking a pill or looking for a quick fix. But the reality of the situation is that we are responsible for our own health. And this book breaks down step by step how to take control of your health and be responsible for your own health, because no one is coming to save us. Don't think that you can rely on a healthcare provider or a doctor to come and fix you. You are responsible for fixing yourself. And so the book basically breaks everything down into chapters regarding sleep, nutrition, hydration, supplementation when nutrition won't get you where you need to be, and movement, of course. Mm-hmm. I'm an athlete. I'm a paddleboarder, a competitive paddleboarder, and a yoga teacher. And I've been, fitness has always been a part of my life. So that is a big part of getting healthy, is moving your body and not sitting still.
Right. It's clear reading the book that a lot of what you give as your framework comes from your own experience. And so we can get into that. But I kind of wanted to ask about, the idea of taking your health into your own hands is not necessarily a message that you would expect to hear from someone like yourself who worked in the medical profession and worked in hospitals, because that is not the message that comes to us usually from the medical establishment. So how did your experience in the hospital and then later advocating for medical freedom shape how you approach this book?
Well, I went to school to become a nurse anesthetist, and I've had a career in nurse anesthesia for over 20 years. And through the pandemic, and it's not just the pandemic where we realized that the healthcare system was breaking down. It's been breaking down for years. But I think COVID exposed a lot of the problems with the healthcare system. And personally speaking, I was in the units at the time. I was living in the Netherlands, and I was helping patients with COVID. They closed down our elective operating room schedules, and we were forced to go to the units to help patients. And it was in this experience that I noticed that the patients were not being treated and they weren't healing. They were actually getting sicker and dying. And I personally had that experience with my own family. My parents both got sick, and I had to come back to the United States and help them heal. They went to the hospital, and UAB hospital tried to kill my father. I actually just wrote a blog about all this. I interviewed this lovely woman whose husband was basically killed at Eglin Air Force Base, a vet with the same type of situation. So to make a long story short, without going down that rabbit hole of a tangent, basically I came to realize that the healthcare system as a healthcare provider has been lying to us, and we have not been trained actually to heal, but to follow what pharma and the hospitals and the insurance systems dictate what they claim as healthcare when in fact it's sick care.
Mhm.
So I've stepped out of the healthcare system, and when I worked at FLCCC, I think that kind of kicked off that spiral outwards, leaving because we had to step in and help patients find treatment for COVID and long COVID vaccine injury, et cetera, as the nonprofit progressed down our journey of healing
Yeah.
interventions. But so that journey has basically led me to where I am today. And so the book was written to help educate people how to actually, like a first step to try and reclaim their health. So becoming your own advocate, or if you're unable to be your own advocate, finding someone to help be an advocate for you. And I'm
Right.
launching a coaching business. So that's one of the things I'll be offering is advocacy in addition to helping with health coaching.
How do you use the book to help people understand just how broken the system is? Because that's kind of the first step to then be able to take your own health into your own hands, is to understand why, when you go to the doctor, you're getting a pretty set prescription of solutions, which may actually not be exactly what you need. So talk a little bit about how you lay out that overarching awareness message in the book.
Sure. So the beginning of the book basically out like exposes or lays out how the healthcare system and the wellness system are corrupt. Going back to, for instance, the food pyramid, or the fact that fat is bad and cholesterol is bad. Those types of things are just examples. And then the wellness industry, and both, by the way, are, they make so much money off of people. The wellness industry is also exploiting people by trying to sell them, quick fixes and fads, nutrition supplements or diet plans or whatever, to try and help get you into some sort of situation where you're basically funding their program, which may not actually help you. So basically, the book in the beginning lays all this out for the people who may not be aware of these things. I feel like we're in a bubble. We kind of already know this stuff. So to us, it's like not new news, but there
Yeah.
are some people who, through this whole COVID journey, are slowly waking up. So it may be they're a little shocked by this information. It may be that they are slowly being exposed to it. And this kind of historically lays out the foundation of why the system is broken and why I feel the way and others feel the way that we do about why we're not getting healthier in our healthcare system.
Right. One of the things that I like about the way you've structured the book is that it's not just one size fits all. Just as you're sort of highlighting that, in the wellness industry, you'll find someone who says you got to take these antioxidant pills, or you got to do juicing or intermittent fasting, and you kind of wrap it all together. You talk about all of those things, but you talk about also how mental resilience is just as important as physical strength, and that you also have to get your support system in order and your financial health in order. So let's take those kind of one by one, and starting with one that I think is just as important, if not more important, that idea of mental resilience. So if hard times are coming, which it's what we talk about here on Collapse Life all the time, things are changing, we're already in hard times, they're probably only going to get harder. What can people do? What do you think people get wrong about preparing when it comes to their physical health? Like, what do they get wrong about mindset?
Yeah, that's probably the hardest thing that people have issues with, is being disciplined enough to actually do something that's, well, set aside time to do something. to begin a new habit. I don't like to call things habits. I like to set intentions and manifest intentions instead of, whatever, New Year's resolutions or whatever. So it's important to basically, and I know people are busy, and I know this may sound very, very unrealistic, but really we can schedule time in our days. We can block time, set boundaries about prioritizing our health needs first, because if we don't, we're just going to break down, suffer burnout, or get sick. So one of the things that's probably foundational for movement and for mental resilience is having some sort of either spiritual practice or religious practice where you find a connection with the greater purpose. And things that people can do. And I want to take, religion necessarily out of it, because if you have a sort of a connection with something bigger, then it's maybe journaling, or it's praying, or it's sitting down and having mindful moments, breath work, a yoga practice, although that's like a movement sort of mental resilience practice. So you don't have to necessarily move for this, but it's really important to reflect and have gratitude, and try to always find the positive pieces of your day, even when your day is terrible. Because I'll tell you, there's been many a day, I was just telling you backstage, where I've broken down on the floor crying, because crying is healthy. But you have to go through your periods of downs and come back through that. And the only way to do that is through having mental and spiritual discipline, and being able to structure your day to come out of that slump.
Yeah.
So anyway, I will be offering tips like that for people who come to see me in my practice. And there are really realistic tips in the book on how to get started doing these things.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the things that we're still kind of grappling with coming out of the pandemic is the idea of who to trust. So there are some people who have completely lost trust in anything to do with medical wellness, health establishment altogether. There are some who are skeptical, but still, when faced with an illness, they defer to the experts. They defer to the science.
Yeah.
When the doctor says, "Look, you really should do X, Y, Z, because otherwise things could get worse." Those people who otherwise would have maybe said, "Look, I'm going to take an alternative path. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that." Suddenly, when they're faced with that decision, they go, "Oh, I should probably just do what the doctor says." So how do you kind of internalize that? And what would you say to people who are struggling with that challenge?
Yeah, it's a hard one, because you want to think that you can trust your healthcare provider, but in reality, we have to be active participants in our own health. And that means finding someone that you trust, and that's hard. Like, even I've had issues finding a practitioner that will, prescribe me what I need. And it takes searching and basically interviewing and firing people when they don't meet the cut. Sure, listen to what someone's giving you as therapy, but if you have questions, you should always ask those questions. And if you think something's wrong and you feel something's wrong, there's probably something wrong. And it's important to find a second opinion, to ask another person, to hear another perspective.
Right.
So I guess the main take home on this message is, don't just blindly accept what people tell you. Do your own research and make sure that you find the truth. And if you find that it's hard finding the truth, then find someone you trust to help navigate through the system. And that's another thing that I am glad to help people do, is if they have a question and they want a consultation about something, I would be glad to sift through the evidence for them and pull out all the important points and show them where it's not factual, and show them where the facts lie, because it's that type of guidance that I think we need in today's healthcare system. And there's more people than just me who do that, by the way.
Yeah. One of the things that I think you and I both have learned over the last couple of years is that the evidence base for a lot of the suggestions or treatments can be highly flawed. That can be by design, or perhaps by accident, but a lot of times it's by design. It's because this is a huge business, a lot of money to be made. And so they want studies to come out a certain way. So I know that you would be probably better able to do that work, and you offer that as a service, but help people understand what some of the red flags are. So if you're with a healthcare provider and they say, go and have a look at this study that they did that shows this treatment that I'm suggesting for you has great efficacy. What would people be looking for that are potential red flags to show that maybe this study isn't all it's cracked up to be?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's like being a detective. It's like being a medical detective. And I think it's fun, like exposing all the lies in these studies, because it makes me so mad, because basically pharma controls everything, and they control not only the hospitals, but they control the educational institutions and the research journals. We saw this in COVID, and this has not just been COVID, it's been with things like Lyme disease and cancer. I know I keep talking about cancer, but cancer is so prevalent nowadays. So my first tips are to always look at the conflicts of interest. I love that. I like just going through and tracing where someone's getting money from someone else. And you can usually trace it back to like the key players, who are the people who always want to, the depopulationists and all those people. Also looking at, is the outcome positive because they're trying to push a drug? Like maybe they're trying to basically make the outcome pro medication so they can sell it more.
Mm-hmm.
Study design is important to look at. The control group and the experimental group, and seeing if there's a definite control where it's blinded, so that the participants are not knowing they're getting the test drug or not.
Right.
A lot of people think that observational studies are not worthwhile, but actually they are actually a good place to look for evidence, especially if they're big ones. So you just really have to be careful about how these studies are laid out. And if you don't know how to read a study, just ask someone who does, and we can walk you through step by step. I actually wrote a guide about how to read research studies for the organization I used to work for. I probably need to write another blog about that, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. To me, it's been really eye-opening, because I never really spent that much time looking at or thinking about how those studies were designed and how they were funded, which is a really big piece. And so, like you said, it's been kind of fun playing detective and looking at that and going, oh, wow, okay, so this study was funded by the pharmaceutical company that makes the drug that's being studied. So, you can definitely take that with a grain of salt, or, make of it what you will. I don't think we want to tell anybody what to think here. And I think your book does a great job of not telling people what to do or what to think, but just what questions to be asking. And you come to your own conclusion on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the point, is to be an active participant in your healthcare and to look at all your data and make your own decisions.
Right.
And always be leery about, and watch the media. They're tricky too. Like, don't think they're not controlled by pharma or, the powers that be as well. You'll see, well, I have to talk about this. Tucker did it. And I love Tucker's content. I'm not saying anything bad about Tucker, but he had a couple of months ago, this man who has made cancer shots, and he is a bad player. I had the most fun writing a blog and exposing that situation. But, if you watch that show, he's just like, oh, wow, like that's really awesome. They have a shot that cures cancer. We never knew about that. Like, I'm just saying, you have to be very careful. And even the people who you might hold up as heroes, you need to look at them sometimes too. I mean, there's been some shocking things that I've learned. There are a lot of people's content that I love, but there are some things that I have to question now when I'm watching patterns and communication styles and psyops not maneuvers, but communication and words and all this stuff. It's really hard to know who to trust out there, is what I'm saying. So find your people that you do trust, that you align with, so that you have a good support system that you can talk to people about these things.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people think that in order to get healthy, they're going to have to spend a lot of money. So what would you say to flip that narrative on its head?
I'd say you don't. I say it's very basic. It's getting outside and getting sunlight in the morning and in the evening. It's drinking water and not drinking sodas and energy drinks. And it's not eating processed foods. And it's not eating all these fad protein shakes and bars. It's really, eating real food and getting real nutrition and getting real movement in, whatever that movement is for you. I'm not saying everyone needs to do paddleboarding and yoga. That doesn't fit everybody. Maybe running doesn't fit everybody, but just finding an activity that you like to do. Maybe you are a person who likes to do sports alone, or maybe you like to do things in a team, or maybe there's a local group you can join where you can do things together with others and make social bonds. There's lots of options. So no, I don't think it has to cost money. I mean, here's an example. I go to a paddle group every Thursday. It's completely free. We just get together at 6 p.m. We have a little bitty technical race, and then we stay together later and we hang out. And some people eat and drink at the restaurant where the activity is held, and some people don't. But we do all hang out and talk and catch up.
Mhm.
That's free. Now, the equipment isn't free, but I mean, that's my personal choice to invest in those things. But for instance, I have a pull-up bar in my house. I think it costs like $10. I walk by and do like 3 pull-ups and walk away. And I just bought some dip bars too, which were like $20. So like on the days I don't go to the gym, I mean, I do pay for a gym membership, but you don't need one. And in the book, I outline just movement things you can do without having memberships and fancy tools and everything. Just stretching routines and basic fitness routine, like meaning fitness movements, like dips and lunges, not dips, but like lunges and squats and all those things. Those are just basic things that you don't have to do or pay for.
Right. Just go for a walk on the beach, go for a hike. All of those things have so many benefits, not only for the physical, but also for the mental well-being, and they don't have to cost a lot. I want to switch gears, but stay on the same theme and talk about food, because it's another thing that you mentioned in the book, and you just mentioned, people should be eating whole foods and things that don't have long ingredient lists and things that don't have a lot of sugar or a lot of chemicals. However, sometimes that is easier said than done. It's not always easy to find clean whole foods, and it's not always affordable. And so right now, this is something that is going to be of a lot of concern for people. And rather than have them just dismiss it altogether and say, well, I can afford that, what kinds of strategies do you suggest so that people can do the best that they can with what they've got?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It does require some detective work again. Like it's taken me a while to find local raw milk that I can purchase, and local eggs and local beef. There's local little farms that have vegetables, like in-season vegetables that you can purchase, and it's not that expensive going to the farmers markets. Also, growing your own food. You can save seeds and grow food. I have beautiful avocados that are growing this year. They haven't produced fruit yet, but the plants have survived the winter, and I grew them from seed.
That's great.
I even also have like a little hydroponic system where I do seed starters and transplant outside. I know some people think hydroponics you don't have the nutritional value that you do planting in dirt, but we all have to find our things that work for us. And there may be certain things that aren't perfect, but at least it's a step in the right direction. Baking your own bread, for instance, getting a sourdough starter and baking bread. My daughter is making the most gorgeous bread, by the way. I need to actually do that myself instead of going to buy sourdough at the bakery. But, it's really not that difficult. And to go shopping, I know the grocery stores are expensive. The food prices are just getting higher and higher, but there are some little cheats of what you can do. You might want to buy your produce locally and then go get the stuff that you actually need. Like, I hate to say Walmart and order from Amazon, but like, we have to be realistic there.
Yeah.
It's an affordable choice. And one of my favorite places to go is Aldi, I swear. And I have to drive 20 minutes to go there, but I save a ton of money and the products are good. Granted, it's what they have to offer, but the eggs are cheaper. You get good choices too, and the produce is pretty good as well. So we just have to pick and choose our battles. Definitely don't go eat fast food. if you just go shop and you do meal prep and you, for instance, freeze some of your food, you end up saving money. Like the raw milk I get is $12 for a gallon. I basically split it up into 3 containers and freeze it in pieces. So I just pull out the raw milk when I'm out, because I use it in my protein shakes, and then that lasts me for like 3 weeks.
Right.
So those are just like little bitty tricks. It's all about planning and packaging and being smart about how you store your food and use your food. Meal prep ahead of the week to have multiple meals from the same food. Like I'll grill chicken and I'll put grilled chicken in different dishes through my week, whether it's a salad or maybe with some quinoa or whatever, in a soup or whatever. Like there's lots of options, and there's a lot of easy recipes. That's one other thing that I offer with my coaching business, is some cheap, easy ways to make recipes, like freezer recipes or less than 10 minutes and stuff like that. And there's also some tips in the book as well about how to eat healthy.
One of the things that I noticed that you often share is reading labels. And so when you're out buying your own groceries, you'll sometimes stop and look at, say, 3 energy bars or 3 different types of yogurt, and you'll read the ingredients list and then help people understand why you're choosing one over the other options. Talk a little bit about what you look for when you're looking at those ingredients lists.
I love doing that, by the way. I'm such a nerd, I guess. But so I always make sure that the ingredients don't have an extensive list. And the way they rank the ingredients on a product is the most of something is the beginning and the least of something is towards the end. So if you have like more than 5 ingredients, you're getting into chemically processed foods, and you don't want foods like that. I always try to look for foods that have the high. Now, I don't have kidney issues or any diseases, so let me preface by saying that for myself, for a healthy person, I make sure that I have higher protein content, higher fat content, less carbohydrate content, but I'm also active, so I have to have some carbohydrates as well, like right before a race, for instance. But people think fat's bad, and a lot of people buy like fat-free or sugar-free or all that stuff, but you have to understand that anything that is low fat, fat-free is processed, or removing the fat out of the product, and they're replacing it with chemicals. But actually, you want to eat fat. Actually, if you're athletic and you do sports, you want to have a higher fat content in your food because it burns slower and more efficiently. So the key things I always look for are less ingredients, fresh food, higher protein and fat content, less carbohydrate content. And I just try to buy as many natural ingredients as possible. And I stay on the perimeter of the grocery store. Like I don't buy my breads there. I don't really I have a couple cheap things I like. So I like chocolate, but I don't really buy candy and cookies and all that stuff. It's terrible for you. Like just find other things to treat yourself with.
Mm-hmm. For people who have been following the whole MAHA, Make America Healthy Again movement, one of the big dividing issues has been around seed oils. Yeah. So explain why that's controversial and what side of that dividing line do you fall on?
Well, I do support not using seed oils, although we have bigger health issues, which I won't jump into. I think it's great that we're tackling seed oils and food quality. Basically, you want to eat things that don't have omega-6 oils. So all the seed oils, meaning anything that's not olive oil or avocado oil, like the canola oils, the linseed oil, all that other stuff, safflower, sunflower oils, they're all bad for you because what happens when you cook with them, they break down and they give off chemicals. So you want to use certain things certain ways. So even olive oil is not necessarily something you want to fry in. It's maybe something better for finishing or sauteing at a lower heat. A better choice would be butter or lard or bacon fat. I really love my bacon. But I do actually cook in lard every day. And lard is one of the healthiest things you can actually cook in because it has a lower smoke point. So does butter. So does any fat actually. And so it doesn't denature when it's heated. So it's better for the food and it's better for your body. And so you're not getting any toxic chemicals when you're cooking your food. And usually I'll use like avocado oil or olive oil in a salad or as a finisher for after I pull the chicken off the grill, I'll put olive oil and lemon juice on top of it to kind of give it a little bit, a little bit more flavor, a little bit more moisture. Just avoid those seed oils and choose stuff like olive oil. If you're afraid of fat for some reason or lard, then don't choose it. But you could also, drain your fat off of your bacon and use that to cook with. I mean, we used to do that years ago when our grandparents were cooking.
Right.
That's my Dutch ex-husband used to tell me a story about how his father, they were like 12 children living on the farm. And what they would do to start off their day is they would eat this thing called rosel. And it was basically lard with sugar mixed in, and they would take it and they would smear it on their bread and they would eat it. I mean, and they'd go all day, and these people lived like ripe, old, healthy ages. So, there is something to it. They've programmed us with this whole Ansel Keys lie about fat is bad to make us, eat all this low fat stuff and thinking that's the cause of cholesterol when it's not. So we have to reprogram ourselves to understand that fat is not bad, to adjust our lifestyles to, eat healthier choices.
Who or what is Ansel Keys?
So he is this doctor who was basically paid to push a narrative that fat was bad. And I actually cannot remember which year that was, but it was basically ingrained in the American public and actually the worldwide public to switch from eating full fat to low fat and no fat food.
So many things that we were told are now being unpacked as not, some of them were flat out lies. Some of them were just misconceptions, and things have evolved. But yeah, it is really important because I think once something takes hold in society, it's very hard to then change that behavior again. So even when people know, they still keep on doing something because it's habit. It's how my family's always done it. So that is definitely one worth looking into. Just going back to the idea of what people eat, one thing I wanted to ask was for someone who has an active social life or who just doesn't really cook that much at home and does spend a lot of time eating out, talk about the kinds of choices that they can make that are better choices in that kind of environment. And then the other thing I want you to talk about is before you started writing this book, you were spending a lot of time doing gig work. So you were doing DoorDash and Uber Eats. You were picking up groceries for people and delivering them to the door. And so what did you learn from that experience?
And that was the most fun. I'm going to do it again because it's almost tourist season and it's a fun way to earn extra money. So I can't remember your first question. I'm going to hit the DoorDash Instacart thing first. So it was interesting shopping for people because what they spend money on, they spend like thousands of dollars, by the way, where I live, because it's a tourist place. And they buy, clearly they're buying for a whole family, but it's like packaged foods, it's chips, it's soda, it's like hot dogs and lunch meats and packaged cheeses and cookie dough and packaged like meal prep, rice-a-roni or whatever, for example. Very little fresh produce. Some people would buy bio, but the majority of people were buying that kind of food. It was always interesting though, when you'd have the few clients who actually did buy things that were bio or, mostly fresh. So it's fun to like have like the cart comparisons. And I would make videos and I would pick up a product and then I would make a suggestion for something that would be healthier. Or I would show people the cart comparison of how much stuff they were buying that they could be not only saving money on, but also not feeding their families. Because honestly, like behavior, mental health, and just physical health, it all stems back to what you're putting in your body. These kids that have maybe attention problems or I would even say exacerbations of autism are caused by processed foods and sugars in the diet. Like Gatorade, oh my gosh, like all the people that drink Gatorade, Gatorade is just junk. You can better just make water and add fruit to it, like or cucumbers or lemon and not put the sugar in there. So that's a really fun little side gig.
And
And
the other end of it was eating out. So,
oh yeah,
what
that's right.
kinds of swaps can people do if they do like to eat out? You don't want to tell people, you're banned from going to a restaurant, but how can they make that a better experience for their health?
Yeah. So, so there are a couple options. Because sometimes you need to get a meal on the go. So, like if for instance, if I'm out and I have to run and do something, and I don't have time to cook, I'll go to like Whole Foods and go to the salad bar and like pick things off the salad bar or get some of their freshly prepared food. But I always read the nutrition labels because sometimes that fresh food is not healthy either because of what they're cooking in it. If you're at a restaurant, for instance, like don't eat the bread, like let the bread pass. If you're having to choose sides at a restaurant, maybe opt for not having sides or pick a side salad or steamed vegetables. And they're going to think you're crazy when you ask these questions, but asking what they actually cook the vegetable in, is it butter, is it seed oil, um, and then picking a protein is usually what I do. Like I went to go eat at a steakhouse recently, and so basically got a fillet, and I got broccoli and a salad. And I asked them
Mhm.
from before, like, "What do you cook your broccoli in?" And they're like, "Butter." I'm like, "Great, perfect." So it's important to ask these questions, and
Yeah.
maybe
It
not.
actually, I think that restaurant staff are becoming much more used to answering those kinds of questions
Yeah.
because so many people have food sensitivities and allergies now. So you shouldn't feel shy about asking. I think if they don't know the answer, they will go in the kitchen and ask because they definitely don't want you to get sick and they don't want to have a liability on their hands. So they will find out for you.
Well, one thing on those food allergies and sensitivities, often that's a gut imbalance. I just want to mention that because that seems to be a prevalent topic nowadays, but a lot of people have gut imbalance. And if you correct that problem, you may find you don't have those same sensitivities and imbalances in other systems of your body. So that's one of the things that I offer with my practice is to look at that underlying issue. And then another thing I wanted to mention, since we mentioned Instacart, one of the cool things I have with the practice as well is like giving people like meal tips, like if they go grocery shopping, like what to pick. Well, one of the integrations in my apps that I use is actually an Instacart. Like you can actually order the food through Instacart. So the people who are super busy, they can still use Instacart to have their food delivered, but they'll have healthy choices to pick, which will be entered into their Instacart list. So I thought that was kind of a cool little thing that I'm going
Hmm.
to be offering. So not to plug Instacart or anything, but I mean, some people are busy and they don't have time to shop.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Um, So I think people can tell just from listening to you, you have a very matter of fact style, very blunt, no BS. So that is how you've also approached the book. You're basically not trying to coddle people. You're not trying to tell them everything's going to be okay. You're kind of trying to wake people up. So talk a little bit about why you chose to write the book in that style and how have people responded?
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, the wellness stuff is a dime a dozen. And I think a lot, like, I don't think having someone to softly coddle you and, you know, tell you it's going to be okay is necessarily going to work all the time. I think nowadays, I think people need a dose of tough love. And so I won't sit around and, be that coddler. I will basically tell you exactly how it is and how you can fix it. Now, it's your choice to listen or not, or to follow what the book tells you to do. It's everyone's choice what to do. But if you do want to get healthy and you are serious about committing to this, then I'll help you get better, like in better shape and make healthier choices. But I'm not going to sit there and lie to you and tell you that
Mhm.
you eating a piece of pound cake yesterday was a good choice. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I love
I'm going to
pound
be real
cake.
about it.
You're breaking my heart. I think for a lot of people, the idea that I got to fix some things. I eat too much pound cake. I don't exercise enough, or whatever it is. Maybe I have an unhealthy addiction, or I spend too much money, or whatever. A lot of people know in their heart what it is that needs to get fixed, but getting started can be super overwhelming. You've already said people are busy, people are broke, they may be quite unhealthy or quite overweight or whatever it is. And so how would you help someone get started? Where should they look first?
Well, I think it's about the little wins, right? Like little bitty wins equal a big win. So I think it's important to commit and make the small steps and then celebrate those and then move on to the next thing. So, for instance, I have this great workbook, which I just love the workbook. It's like an homage to being in grade school and flipping through those workbooks that we had when we were kids. So the first activity in the workbook is basically like a wellness checklist. So it helps the reader focus on where they need to put the most attention first, whether it's sleep or hydration, nutrition, movement, whatever. Maybe it's two things. I don't know. It depends on the person. Everyone's different. But then you can basically concentrate on what you feel driven to work on first. You know what I mean? So, as a self-guided tool using the book, then you can use the portions of the book to focus on pieces of your health first. If you come to me, then we'll work as an individual to look at what you want to focus on or what needs to be focused on first and work on those things and fix them first and then work on to the next thing. So even if you are just completely out of shape and overweight and are just, not sleeping well and just everything, your whole entire life is out of control, we can just focus on one thing at a time and take it piece by piece. And it's mindset too. Like, you have to focus on the positives and not be, weighted down by the negatives all the time. So it takes a little bit of mental programming and we can work on that too. But it's, the foundational thing is having the commitment to want to change yourself for the better. If you don't have that, nothing is going to help you. So
that's one of the things I love about the way you've approached this book, because it fits so neatly with what we're trying to do with Collapse Life as well, which is, we don't know what the future holds, but chances are it's not going to get immediately better. So, if you are thinking about these things and preparing, you need to get all of these things in order. You need to toughen up your mental resilience, get your health sorted out, just be the strongest version of yourself that you can be, so that not only will you be able to help yourself and your family, but help others around you. You'll be able to withstand and actually thrive when hard times come. So yeah, that's why I thought having you on here now especially is perfect timing for the moment that we're in. Couple of last things before we wrap up. One thing that you and I have talked about before, which we don't necessarily agree on, but I want you to talk about your view on it, is wearables. So, the rings and the watches and the little devices that you can wear on your body that tell you what's going on with your sleep or your brain waves or your heart rate or whatever. My view on it, I'll just say, and then you can say what you think. I definitely have some privacy concerns, but I also am a little bit concerned that you might get a bunch of data and not know what to do with it, and maybe make wrong choices based on what that data is, because I don't know necessarily what's right or what's wrong or what the healthy level is, or be so overwhelmed by all that data that you end up becoming paralyzed.
Yeah. I mean, it's all good points. And we just have to keep in mind that everyone is different. Some people, I mean, look, you don't need wearables. You can calculate everything yourself by using math and, a paper and a pen, or a weight scale, or, an old fashioned thermometer, old fashioned blood pressure cuff. But some people don't have okay, so let's be honest. In today's world, a lot of people don't have the mental ability anymore because of electronics and social media to do those types of calculations. I'm not saying it's right or it's good. I'm just saying that I would prefer someone trying to get healthy and finding a way to do that fits their lifestyle. So I am a nurse. I was taught how to do all this stuff the old-fashioned way, but I'll tell you that I do wear wearables, and the reason why I do it, and it's personal choice. Now you're getting the blue light and all the electronic exposure. Like, yes, that's bad. I agree. And is the data? Can you have a data breach? Maybe. Yeah, probably. Maybe not. I don't know. Like, it's anyone's guess. I think it's likely that you could. I know, for instance, the Oura Ring. I mean, the people at Stanford are behind the Oura Ring. Now, if people know me, they know how I feel about Stanford. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a fan of any of the big, universities, but I do like the data that my Aura ring gives me. And I'm not plugging for Aura. I wish I could have an affiliate link to plug for Aura because I would make $1 million. But I tell you, the biometric data that I do get from the ring is pretty cool. And because I basically take care of myself, and I have a prescriber that prescribes for me, and we collaborate on my health. So I use my data to help guide my choices. It monitors my sleep. It monitors my physical activity, my VO2 max, which is important for my performance and my heart, and like my resilience level. It just kind of calculates that. It almost gamifies it in a sense. So am I enslaved to it? Do I look at it every day? No, I don't. I really don't. But like, I may look at trends. Like I watch body temperature trends for like hormones and stuff like that. I look at my sleep trends. Like when I'm trying to launch these businesses, I've been about behind my screens a lot. And yes, it's disturbed my sleep. And I've had to shut that down and not have things in my bed when I'm trying to sleep at night, and, try to clean up those habits. So it's kind of a good coach for that. I use my Garmin watch when I paddleboard. It gives me all of my data for my speed and for my distance. It's very important because I'm competing, and I can see where my improvements, or maybe where I've had a bad day, and can figure out why that is. So I think, like anything, that if you do things in moderation, whatever that might be, I think it's okay. And I think we have to pick our battles because, I mean, even with clothes, clothes have estrogen blockers in them, and our electronics in our house are wireless, sunscreens. I mean, the list goes on and on about things that are going to kill us, but I am also under I have the philosophy that if you make your body a fine-tuned machine that can handle exposures to these chemicals and to toxins, that you will be better off in the future. There are things we can tweak to make our immune systems more resilient. And one of those things that I love is vitamin C. I'm telling you, everyone is vitamin C deficient. C, magnesium, vitamin D. Those are like the 3 things I will tell everyone to check first. Make sure those things are in check. And then for the rest, just make the best choices that you can,
Yeah. I think that's actually a great place to end. I'm just going to give you final word, the last thoughts or message that you want to leave the audience with.
I just want everyone to know that it is possible to get healthier. You may not be a marathon runner, but at least if you can take your baby steps and walk your way to health, it's better than not doing anything at all. And there is hope. And I think that if you're ready to commit to being a better version of yourself, I think we can start and do this together.
Awesome. Well, remind people how they can get in touch with you, how they can find the book, and follow along with you on social media.
Okay. So my book and my practice are launching on June 1st. The book is Get Healthy or Get Dead. I also have a Substack. You can link to that on that website. My practice website will be KristinaMorros.com, and you can follow me right now on social media. Most of the accounts are at Get Healthy or Get Dead. I think Healthy or Dead is Twitter. I'm on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Substack.
If they want to, they will find you.
You can find me.
Well, that's awesome. Kristina, congratulations again. I'm really proud of you. I think the work that you're doing is amazing. And I'm so glad that you came and chatted with us today.
Well, thanks. I'm so glad that to be on your podcast too. And I'm proud of you as well.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon. Folks, if you are serious about staying strong in a world that's growing weaker by the day, I really urge you to check out Kristina's work. She has laid out a very clear path for how to reclaim your health and get back your own freedom, one practical step at a time. We all know someone who can benefit from this information. So please do them and do us a favor by passing this video along. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like the video. You can learn more about us at collapselife.com and sign up for our newsletter. And as always, if you like what you see, we would really appreciate it if you support us on our Buy Me a Coffee page. Every cup fuels us forward, and we're so grateful for each and every one of our supporters. We can't wait to see you again next week for another episode. And until then, just keep your chin up. It's only collapse. See you soon.